wala pa po yung representative of TikTok. So I believe we'll be taking up naman po in the admin matters. So I will defer to that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. Chairman Paduano, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Since supposedly this had been tackled this morning. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, we have received a copy of several letters coming from resource persons that was issued the show cause order during the February 4 hearing, Mr. Chairman. Now, most of these excuse letters citing almost the same, except for a few, almost the same reason why they should not be present in today's hearing. Now, let me take, for example, letter coming from a certain Richard Mata. He stated about questions of his base in Davao, and he has also filed a petition for certiorari in the Supreme Court. And he mentioned about lack of willful disobedience, etc., etc. Now, with this, Mr. Chairman, the same is in the case of other invited resource persons issued the show cause order. They have filed a petition for certiorari in the Supreme Court, and they are not once again present in today's hearing. Well, in fact, some of them mentioned about that they should not be cited in contempt. And just for the record, I would just like to correct all those resource persons that replied with regards to the show cause order by this honorable committee. We never cited them in contempt. We followed due process in this committee. Well, in fact, a lot of hearings in my own committee and even in the Quadcom, we follow and we do due diligence with regards to motion to cite in contempt a certain particular resource person. Now, Mr. Chairman, I will just mention all those names, na nagpadala dito na hindi po dumalo ngayong araw na ito answering our show cause order. A certain Dr. Richard Mata, but Comsec, please take note that Dr. Richard Mata mentioned about a letter that was sent to his address in the person of Manuel Mata. In his letter, he asked this committee or the Comsec to kindly refrain from sending correspondence addressed to him at my given address, considering that he is a total stranger to me. So, ito pong a certain Manuel Mata, if he is invited, hindi po naka-address dapat kay Dr. Richard Mata. But then, Dr. Richard Mata is absent in today's hearing. Second po, the letter coming from Ethel Pinida. The same po. And let me read, may I respectfully inform the committee that a petition for certiorari and a restraining order have been filed before the Supreme Court. This legal action pertains to inquiry that I was unable to attend. Concerning this, I shall await guidance from the Supreme Court on the appropriate next steps. The same is true with Elizabeth Jo Cruz, Aaron Peña, Crisette Loretta Chu. But the Crisette Loretta Chu, I think he's not present today, but her counsel is present in the person of former congressman and former Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment, Secretary Congressman Silverio. Sir, I will just ask the chairman that he will be given time after all of these admin matters, but still, we have to act on it based on the letter that was submitted to us. After I read all the reply letter po, then I will ask the chairman for you to explain why your client is present today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be recognized, Your Honor?
After na lang po. After na lang po. Anong admin matters.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And the same is true with Susan Batalya. And Attorney Trixie Angeles. Mamaya po, I will just manifest with regards to Attorney Trixie on her interview. Then the same is Sas Rogando Sasot. Mary Jean Reyes po. The same. Okay, ano? Dami po. Doon po kay Mark Anthony de la Cruz Lopez. Now, Mr. Chairman, with all those reply coming from those resource persons mentioned, issued with the show cause order, Mr. Chairman, may I respectfully move that we issue a subpoena ad testificandum for all those mentioned names that has officially received a copy of such show cause order. So move, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion to issue subpoena to all those mentioned by the Honorable Paduano for not attending and answering the show cause order issued by the three committees. Duly seconded. Do I hear any objection from the members? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Same is true with...
Your Honor, may I now be recognized, Your Honor?
Sandali po.
Grabe,
Sir,
ano
hindi
ba?
pa ako tapos.
Okay.
Same is true with Miss Badoy and Mr. Eric Celes, Mr. Chairman. They have not replied to the show cause order issued to them. So, I respectfully move once again, Mr. Chairman, to issue a subpoena ad testificandum to the mentioned name, Mr. Chairman. So move.
There's a motion to issue subpoena to Mr. Celis and Madam Badoy. Do I hear any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Chair to recognize former Secretary Bello, let me read lang, Mr. Chairman, a manifestation with regards to all those invited resource person that was issued the show cause order, and now they were issued the subpoena. First and foremost, Mr. Chairman, let me read lang question of jurisprudence with regards to inquiry in the aid of legislation. Now, Mr. Chairman, Standard Chartered Bank versus the Senate. Ito po in relation to sa judicial rule. Napakalinaw po, and let me read. The mere filing of a criminal or administrative complaint before a court of quasi-judicial body should not automatically bar the conduct of legislative investigation. Otherwise, it will be extremely easy to subvert any intended inquiry by Congress through the convenient ploy of instituting a criminal or administrative complaint. Surely the exercise of sovereign legislative authority, of which the power of legislative inquiry is an essential component, cannot be made subordinate to a criminal or administrative investigation. And in this case, Mr. Chairman, the letter answer to the show cause order issued to all those resource person that was ordered for a subpoena ad testificandum is not valid, Mr. Chairman, since Supreme Court mismo po nagsabi na it cannot be applied in inquiry in aid of legislation. And furthermore, Mr. Chairman, on Arnold Tesareno versus Neri of the Senate, let me quote, a legislative investigation in aid of legislation and court proceeding has different purposes. Magkaiba po. On one hand, courts conduct hearings or like adjudicative procedures to settle through the application of a law actual controversies arising between adverse litigants and involving demandable rights. On the other hand, inquiries in aid of legislation are an inter alia undertaken as tools to enable the legislative body to gather information and thus legislate wisely and effectively. and to determine whether there is a need to improve existing laws or enact new or remedial legislation, albeit inquiry need not result in any potential legislation. Ongoing judicial proceedings do not preclude congressional hearings in aid of legislation. Napakalinaw po na yung excuse letter o yung letter reply ng lahat ng mga resource person that was issued the subpoena in today's hearing is not acceptable and valid po. Now, and lastly, Mr. Chairman, let me read na lang po. Let me manifest with regards to the statement being made by Attorney Trixie in social media po. Allow me to proceed, Mr. Chairman.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While we acknowledge the right of Attorney Angeles to seek reprieve before the Supreme Court for an act which he believes will curtail her constitutionally granted right, clarification must be made to further justify the previous directive of this joint committee. Firstly, the joint committee issued the show cause order against Attorney Angeles not because of her non-attendance to our February 4, 2025 hearing. Hindi po dahil wala siya dito, kaya na-issuean siya ng show cause order. But because of the content of the communication that she submitted before this committee, which directly challenges our jurisdiction to conduct inquiry in aid of legislation. We have a copy po of the letter sent to us by Attorney Trixie during the first hearing and invitation po. We would like to remind Attorney Angeles that as an officer of the court and a member of the legal profession, she is bound to respect and abide by the Constitution. And under Article 6, Section 21 of the Constitution, let me cite, the House of Representatives has the power to conduct inquiries in aid of legislation. Therefore, it is imperative upon Attorney Angeles to respect and acknowledge this authority as enshrined in our Constitution. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Committee directed the Legal Department to study and consider filing possible disbarment case against Attorney Angeles because we believe that an officer of the court, she must conduct herself as a true advocate of law rather than being the one directly promoting its defiance. It must likewise be stressed that Attorney Angeles has a propensity of violating the legal profession's code of professional responsibility. Per records, Attorney Angeles has already been suspended by the Supreme Court in 2 occasions. First, in 2016, when she was suspended for 3 years because of her failure to act on a case of her client despite payment of legal fees, and again in 2023, when the court imposed a 6-month suspension against her for using abusive and inappropriate language in a submitted pleading. Considering the aforementioned, it is only but proper for this jurisdiction to examine whether a disbarment case should be filed against Attorney Angeles for constantly disregarding and violating the code of conduct being observed by all members of the bar. That's all, Mr. Chairman. For in the case of Attorney Trixie Cruz Angeles. Yes. Mr. Chairman, can we allow, in brief, Secretary Bello to manifest for on behalf of her client, his client?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Secretary Bello, you're recognized. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Honors. Just for the record, Your Honor, may we enter our appearance together with my partner, Attorney Jose Aspiras, as counsel for Miss Crisette Laureta Chu, Your Honors. before coming here, Your Honor, I received a letter signed by Miss Chu addressed to the chairman, the Honorable Congressman Dan Fernandez, explaining her reason for not attending this hearing, Your Honor, because she alleges that she is not a blogger, much less a purveyor of false news or fake news. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, Ms. Chu is a legitimate media practitioner and even a column editor of a national daily, which is the Manila Bulletin, Your Honors. On this basis, Your Honor, we offered to appear in her behalf today. Unfortunately or fortunately, we are also compelled, Your Honor, to enter our appearance in collaboration with Attorney G.P. Angeles, who is the counsel of the other alleged bloggers who filed a petition for certiorari and prohibition with a prayer for the issuance of a temporary restraining order, Your Honors. And because of this petition, Your Honor, it was our decision to advise them not to appear, because for them to appear, Your Honor, would be an abandonment of their petition filed before the Supreme Court for certiorari and prohibition, Your Honor. So, in order not to preempt this case, Your Honor, they opted not to appear. And as a matter of fact, Attorney Gonzalez, I think, manifested in writing, Your Honor, that they are requesting for a resetting of this hearing so that they can attend later on without waiving the rights on the petition that they filed before the Supreme Court.
Mr. Chair,
Submitted, Your Honors.
Mr. Chair, may I just make an observation? Just
Is that in relation
yes, exactly.
to the statements of Secretary Bello?
You're right, Mr. Chair.
Please, you have the floor.
Para sa kaalaman ng lahat, napanood ko po yung interview ni Miss Crisette Laureta Chu sa television, kung saan nga sinasaad na sila ay nag-file ng petisyon sa Supreme Court. Ano po? Pero sa aking pakiwari po ay nakakadismaya na pinangungunahan nila kung ano mangyayari sa komite na ito. Napakasimple lang naman. Wala naman tahasang nagsasabi na sila ay purveyors or fake news. Wala naman nagsasabi na sila ay hindi lehitimong journalist. In fact, kinikilala po natin yan. Kung iniimbitan po siya ng House of Representatives ng komite na ito ay sa kadahilan ng gusto nating malaman ang kanilang punto de vista sa problema nga ho ng paglaganap ng fake news. Para sa akin, merong elemento ng paranoia. Pinangungunahan ninyo, sana naman lang binigyan nyo kami ng pagkakataon dahil meron din naman dito sa komite at ang aming tanging hangarin, at least I can only speak for myself, and I also believe this is also the intention of my colleagues, is to find out ano ba ang problema nangyayari nito. Because ang problema ho ng fake news, hindi lang ho nakaka-apekto sa administrasyon o sa opposition, naka-apekto sa mga negosyo, sa mga private individuals. Nakakalungkot po, Mr. Chair, na sa puntong ito, ang mangyayari niyan, ang magiging dahilan na yung kanilang petisyon sa Supreme Court. Kumbaga, pinagtutuos ang kanilang petisyon laban sa ating kahilingan at imbitasyon na dumalo sila sa ating pagpupulong. Yun lamang po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Chairman.
The Chairman Paduano, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to reply to the manifestation made by my good friend, our former colleague, Secretary Bello, a lawyer. Alam mo naman po, hindi ako lawyer, no? But of course, with due respect to the manifestation made by Sec Bello, first and foremost po, the hearing that was conducted last February 4 in this committee mas nauna po invitation kaysa doon sa Supreme Court. At the same time, malinaw po na yung inquiry in aid of legislation in Congress, no, Senate and House of Representatives, sabi nga ng Supreme Court, is a different proceeding. Now, kaya sabi nga, doon sa Chartered Bank versus the Senate, malinaw po. As in sabi doon, cannot use courts to subvert the constitutional mandate of the House of Representatives and this committee. Kaya po ako, Mr. Chairman, ako po, I still stand with the Subpoena anti-stificandum to be issued against those or to all those mentioned names. And one of those is the client of former Congressman and Secretary Bello. Malinaw po, they only filed. Well, in fact, you are not part of the filing of such certiorari in the Supreme Court. Iba pong abogado doon, di ba, Sec?
I agree, Your
Yeah.
Honor. I do not know. I don't disagree with your position. As a matter of fact, the filing of that petition before the Supreme Court was done by their counsel on record, Your Honor, Attorney Angeles. And the only reason why we agreed to that for them not to come over is for them not to render moot and academic that petition. So it's up for the Supreme Court to decide whether their petition for certiorari and prohibition has any legal basis, Your Honor.
Chairman, can I reply? Mr. Chairman, okay. With due respect to the position of the good lawyer, my good friend, Mr. Chairman, ganito po kasi. The issue of Subpoena anti-stificandum, if they will not be present in the next hearing, and the excuse that will be sent once again to us is not valid, they might be cited in contempt. And doon na po, sa mga letter nila, citing Section 11, Paragraph A, yun na po, they will be cited in contempt, no? Cited in contempt in violation of Paragraph A. Alam po ni Secto, kasi former congressman, lawyer pa, di ba? Absence without legal excuse in this committee po. Now, ang sinasabi ko lang po, just for the record, Mr. Chairman, malinaw po, we follow due process here. We have done due diligence. We invited them, we issue a show cause order, now we issue a subpoena anti-stificandum. Now, in the next hearing, they should be present. Iwasan po sana natin magkaroon ng constitutional impasse po dito. No? Kasi if we wait for the Supreme Court and we will not do our constitutional duty here, there will be a problem. Kaya po I hope my good friend, the good lawyer, Secretary Bello, will advise his client to be present in the next hearing because we will be forced to impose our constitutional mandate at the same time our internal laws of the House. Section 11 of the internal laws, which is Section for contempt po.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will follow your advice, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you,
My dear
boss.
friend.
Thank you.
Mr.
I'd like to follow up the question of line of questioning ni, if I may be allowed by the chairs. But you know, I can ask one question lang po kay Secretary.
Sige.
Sir, yes, Sir Kong, would you know what particular, di ba, nag-file po sila ng petition for search warrant before the Supreme Court. Would you know, sir, kung what specific areas where they question the proceeding of this committee, why they do not want to attend? Are they questioning the legality of this proceeding? Are they questioning the mandate of this committee? Because I believe, I just want to know exactly the reason why they are using that argument in order to continue skipping the committee hearings and not honoring the invitation of this Tricom.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I stated earlier, that petition for certiorari and prohibition was filed by Attorney G.P. Angeles, G.P. Angeles, Your Honor, and we had nothing to do with that.
Yes.
It just so happened that our client, Miss Christian Chu, also joined the petition. So, as whether the petition has any legal basis or not, Your Honor. I'm not yet prepared
Okay.
to make any conclusion.
Okay, so thank you very much. Kasi I had this impression, Mr. Chair, that essentially the petition for certiorari is, though they have certain arguments perhaps that they have presented before the Supreme Court, but essentially my take on that is they are questioning the legality of this proceeding, Mr. Chair. So that would be basically that would be the bedrock of the argument that they want to pursue before the Supreme Court. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. Secretary, hindi po ba nag-file po sila ng petition sa Korte Suprema? Di po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, hindi pa nag-a-act yung Korte Suprema. Wala po silang action.
That's true, Your Honor. That is true.
And therefore-
but the only reason why they are not appearing now is not to render that petition moot and academic.
I would understand that, Secretary, but that would not stop this committee from performing its constitutional mandate. Would you agree with that also?
I agree, Your Honor.
And therefore, the committees can issue the processes provided under our rules. Tama rin po siguro.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, I would understand na hindi siya appear dito dahil magiging moot and academic yung kanyang yung kanyang petition sa Korte Suprema. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
And Mr. Chair, may I also add, Mr. Chair, in a way, the purpose of this inquiry is to formulate an enabling law in aid of legislation. So we are not actually running after anybody. We're actually soliciting all their input so that we can come up with a law that would really address yung proliferation of malinformation, misinformation in the online community. Yun lang naman talagang pinaka-purpose dito, Mr. Chair, Your Honors.
May mga admin.
Yes, the Honorable Paduano for the other administrative matters.
May naiwan pala, Mr. Chairman, for those all unserved show cause order coming from this committee last February for hearing. Mr. Chairman, may I respectfully move that those unserved show cause order be issued again and coordinate with the Philippine National Police to properly serve such show cause orders. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Any second? There's a motion to reissue show cause orders to those people who have not been properly served with such. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. Comsec, please take note of that. The Honorable Barbers is now recognized.
Mr. Chair,
Thank
additional admin matters with the indulgence of Chairman Barbers. Mr.
With the
Chair.
indulgence of the Honorable Barbers, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Barbers. Thank you, Chair Akop. Mr. Chair, we also have two more matters, I think, that were left by Congressman Paduano in relation to admin matters. This is in relation to the platforms. May we know, Mr. Chair, from the ComSec for clarification. We have received a letter from White and Case on behalf of Meta, but our invitation was for Facebook Philippines, tama po ba? And in fact, the letter was addressed to Mr. Henrickson David. So hindi naman po Meta talaga. Just for the information of the body, the committee is in receipt of a letter from counsel from the US stating that Meta cannot be invited. Facebook Philippines is not authorized to receive the invitation. However, I think this is like the case of Google. Although Google and Alphabet is international, Google Philippines chose to appear. So I think, Mr. Chair, this would not stand po as a reason for Facebook Philippines not to attend. So given that they have failed to substantiate the reason for their absence, may I move, Mr. Chair, that a show cause order be issued for Facebook Philippines?
Second.
Could you please enumerate the shall we say platforms that would be issued a show cause order?
Altogether na lang po,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Omnibus. On the second matter, Mr. Chair, this is in relation to ByteDance, the owner of TikTok. They've sent a letter to the committee stating that they could not appear due to an engagement in Singapore. Unfortunately, the engagement was not substantiated, and based on precedents in this committee, we generally would require proof of the reason of their absence. So likewise, in the same manner, then I would like to amend my motion, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that the show cause order be issued to ByteDance Philippines, or the invitee here po, no, sa email to, and to Facebook Philippines, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is carried. ComSec, please take note that we issue a show cause order to the mentioned platform.
Mr. Chair, sorry, one more amendment in line with the rules of the committee, as the ComSec has just informed me now, to include po in the motion the specific person. So for ByteDance Philippines, that is Ms. Pichi Paderna, and for Meta Platforms, or in the case of Facebook Philippines, this is Mr. Henixon David. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
As amended, do I hear any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is carried. ComSec, please take note that we invite the persons as mentioned by the Honorable Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chairman, for admin pa rin po to. Sorry po. Mr. Chairman, may, since Attorney, former Secretary, former Congressman Bello has already entered his appearance as counsel of those resource person, is requesting us if he can now leave because he has still work outside.
Is there any objection from the members that we excuse Secretary Bello? Hearing none? Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Honorable Barbers, you are now recognized.
I would like to yield my time to Congresswoman Roman, because she promised me that it will just be very short.
The Honorable Roman is recognized.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, nais ko lang isaad at bigyang diin ang naturalesa ng komisyon na to, no? Which is basically investigation in aid of legislation. And I think meron tayong konting problema sa pagpaparating dito ng ating mga imbitado dahil nga pinangungunahan nila ang ating pakay, no? Akala nila ay lilitisin sila dito, hindi naman po ito korte, hindi naman ito hukuman, bagamat ito ay simple lamang na pagpapalit ng kuro-kuro. Kalinya na rin po ng naturalesa ng committee na ito na maghanap ng mga polisiya at mga patakaran upang i-regulate ang social media, upang iwasan ang paglaganap ng fake news. Nais ko sanang ihatag sa komite na ito ang naging bunga ng aking pakikipagpanayam sa mga journalists, sa mga content creators, sa mga eksperto na masasabi. Kung papahintulutan po ako ng ating mabuting chairman, ay gusto ko sanang ilatag ang aking suggestion para maiwasan ang problema natin na tila nagbubunga doon sa kakulangan ng regulations, ng policies, ng mga internal regulations na sinasabi, no? At pagkakaisa sa loob ng sektor. Ang ComSec, sana makadistribute kayo ng tinatawag kong pagtatatag ng Digital Council of the Philippines. So I made a policy briefer. So the proliferation of fake news, disinformation, and malinformation on social media platform poses a significant threat to public trust, democratic discourse, and national security. Alam na po natin yan. Despite existing laws, current mechanisms are fragmented